Okay, so let's just jump right in. On February 9th, 2026, something absolutely wild happened in the financial world. A single number came out of Japan that signaled this massive shift, and it completely shattered decades of economic pessimism. And this right here, this is the number 57,337.07. I mean, just look at it. That's the historic all-time high the Nikkei 225 stock index didn't just break, it shattered in one crazy day of trading. We're talking about a ceiling that many people thought was just unbreakable. So this wasn't just, a good day for the markets. No way. This was an absolute explosion of confidence. But here's the really interesting part. This financial boom, it's actually the aftershock of a huge political earthquake that had just rocked the country. And that earthquake has a name: Sanae Takaichi. We're talking about the landslide victory of Japan's very first female prime minister. She's a nationalist, super assertive. People are even calling her Japan's Margaret Thatcher. Her win just completely redrew the political map. I mean, just look at the scale of this win. Her party, the LDP, didn't just squeak by. They absolutely crushed the opposition, picking up 118 seats. That gave them a powerful two-thirds supermajority. And the main opposition alliance, they totally fell apart, losing the exact same number of seats. It's wild. So what does a majority like that get you? Well, analysts are basically calling it a blank check. She can now push through these huge, deep structural reforms that have been stuck in political gridlock for years. We're talking about a level of power we haven't seen in a long, long time. Okay, but here's the part that really made everyone's jaws drop. It's her support among young people. Get this, a staggering 92.4% of voters between 18 and 29 backed her. Just think about that for a second. This is a whole generation that's only ever known economic stagnation. They are absolutely hungry for change. All right, so when you have that much power, that much support, the whole world turns to you and asks one simple question. What's the plan? What's your economic playbook? Well, it's got a name: Sanaenomics. And the best way to describe it, people are calling it Abenomics on steroids. It's this super aggressive, hypercharged plan to finally, once and for all, pull Japan out of that economic slump it's been in for decades. And it kicks off with a bang, a massive stimulus package. We're talking over 21 trillion yen. To put that in perspective, that's about 130 billion US dollars, just pumped straight into the economy to get things moving. So the whole plan really rests on three main pillars. Pillar number one, protect people's livelihoods. That means direct cash relief for families. Pillar two, smart strategic investments in the future. We're talking AI, semiconductors, the whole shebang. And pillar three, beefing up national security with a big boost in defense spending. But here's the really innovative, and definitely the riskiest part of the whole thing. How's she going to pay for all this? Instead of taking on new debt, she's going into Japan's massive foreign exchange reserves. It's literally like the country's rainy day fund, this huge pile of foreign cash they built up over decades. And this is a really, really bold move. On the one hand, the advantage is huge. You get to spend all this money without technically raising the national debt right away. But on the other hand, the risk is just as big. Creates are screaming that it's like raiding the national savings account to throw a huge party today. What happens if there's a real emergency tomorrow? So, you can see this as a huge deal inside Japan. But this story doesn't stop at its borders. No. This new, more assertive Japan is sending massive shockwaves all across the Indo-Pacific. It's completely changing the game for everyone in the region. For China, this is pretty much a nightmare scenario. Takaichi has been crystal clear that she will defend Taiwan. And for Beijing, that's not just a problem. It's an existential threat. She crossed a major red line, and it's ratcheted up tensions to a level we haven't seen in years. Now, flip over to the United States, and they couldn't be happier. Washington is looking at this re-energized Japan and seeing the perfect partner for what they're calling defense synergy. Basically, it's a plan for way deeper cooperation between their militaries and their defense industries. And it's not just the US. Look at India. They're jumping in as a key strategic partner. For New Delhi, Takaichi's Japan is the perfect ally to help build a coalition that can push back against China's influence, especially in the developing world. Okay, so let's bring it back to the markets for a second. Because with all this excitement, all this euphoria, there's this little question being whispered among the more nervous investors. You know the one. Is this whole thing just too good to be true? And that whisper is getting louder. Could this be Japan's Truss moment? You remember that, right? When the UK's Prime Minister Liz Truss tried this massive unfunded spending plan back in 2022 and it completely crashed their markets? The big fear is that history could repeat itself, but this time in Tokyo. So, could it happen? Well, the jury's still out. On the one hand, Japan's debt is absolutely massive, the highest in the developed world. But there's a really important difference. Unlike the UK, most of Japan's debt is held internally by its own people and its own institutions. So it's kind of like the country owes money to itself, which gives it this incredible stability that other places just don't have. And look, even beyond the markets, this boom doesn't magically solve everything. Sanaenomics is up against some really deep structural hurdles. Takaichi still has to figure out what to do about an aging, shrinking workforce. She's got to lock down the country's energy supply. And she has to make sure all this new money doesn't just make the rich richer and leave everyone else behind. Because at the end of the day, for Sanaenomics to be a real success, this stock market party has to mean something for the average person on the street. It has to turn into actual growth, better wages, a higher standard of living. That's the real test, right? Which brings us to the final billion-dollar question. Are we actually watching the dawn of a true Japanese renaissance? Is this a giant finally waking up? Or is this just the brightest flash of light right before the whole bubble pops? The entire world is holding its breath to find out.